Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Crossover. Starring Josh Johnson and Chris McGill. Featuring Christina Thorson. And of course, you, the Instagram live chat. Now, sit back and enjoy this week's edition of The Crossover. Powered by Card Ladder.
People commented to me about your background, the Harry Potter thing. Yeah, it's making waves in the hobby.
It's going to be the new thing. People are going to start hanging these on walls.
Are we live right now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. How's the weather in Phoenix now?
Weather's getting better. Still, I think this weekend we hit 100 degrees though, so still a little warm.
Yeah, I was so miserable in the summer in Texas, but now it's great. Now it's like in the 70s and the 80s. It's just perfect now.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Lots of questions this week, but first, it's maybe one of the only times I ever get to do this. Welcome to everybody to a Friday the 13th edition of the Crossover. Today is October 13th. Josh, how do you feel about Friday the 13th? Does it mean anything to you?
No. I'm not superstitious.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool that the 31st switched, so it's like a spooky Halloween version of Friday the 13th.
Ah, now that is a take I hadn't heard yet.
Mm-hmm.
Very spooky. All right. Do you have any mail days on this Friday the 13th?
No, but I will have one soon. A card has reached the United States today that I've been waiting for a month. I'm very excited.
You've been very patient through that. I commend you.
I don't have a choice. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. And you're going to have to be patient with yours too.
Yeah. No, it's even when I don't have a choice, I still don't accept that.
Yeah, I've gone through the stages of grief. Now I'm just at like annoyance. I don't know what to say.
Right. Exactly. All right. Christina, I don't have any mail days. Christina does. And,
my mail day is a hoodie from WTF Frankie Podcast, a longtime friend of Crossover. He sent me a Taylor Swift hoodie. And I'm wearing it today because her movie came out today for the Eras Tour. And I just want to say thanks, Frankie. You're awesome and you rock. So thanks so much.
He just drew.
Nice.
Should I be offended I didn't get a sweater of Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Taylor Swift is now moving up to the first 5 minutes of the show.
Oh, God. Well, she's in the first 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, every minute of every game that she's at, Thursday Night Football.
Yep, I'm ready to zag so hard on Taylor Swift and football.
You better be careful, dude. I'm all about your zags, but that one, I'm warning you. You got to be careful.
Well, I've said it now. We'll see.
Swifties will get you. Not me, the Swifties. They'll come after you.
I know. But, the football broadcast has gotten very nervous about it. Like,
yes.
they're like, we are not showing her more than we need to. Everybody relax.
But also, we are showing her because we want the rating. So, they're just confused.
Yep. Exactly.
If you talk shit about her, you'll literally just have a knock at your door within seconds. They'll start scratching the door.
Well, that's almost like a dare to prove how obscure the crossover really is. Let's see if we can say something bad about Taylor Swift and get some people crying about it. Okay, all right. Let's go into announcements. Do we have any Card Ladder related announcements? Nope.
I'm getting closer.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
I'm getting closer.
Knew that was coming. All right. Let's go into some questions then. The Couchman Sports Card says, a few weeks ago, I petulantly asked if you were sorry for missing 2 straight weeks of the crossover.
Come on, Publius. It's okay, man.
It's all right. Yeah, no, we're here for you, man. Since then, by my count, this is the 6th consecutive week with a show. Thank you for the regular free content. I'm sorry for my temper tantrum a few weeks ago. The crossover really is my binky.
Was that Publius?
No, that was the Couchman sports card.
Oh, man.
Publius owed us an even bigger bump.
Yeah, Publius won't apologize for anything.
That's how we're like celebrating 6 now. Apparently, like 6 in a row is now like it's a mark that you want to reach.
Right. We've had like 30 week spans. We were never congratulated for those. It's only once we started taking it away that people appreciated it.
Doesn't everyone else in this space count the episodes? Like, oh, this is the 100th episode. Like, I don't even know. If you had to guess, we're probably over 100, right? 100 and something?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're 3.5 years into the crowd.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. It started around March, April of 2020.
It's like 150.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. All right. Thank you, Couchman, though. We really appreciate that. All right. 1956 Tops guy, who's now doing Saturday Night Lives discussing vintage cards and combating a little bit of our propaganda with a little bit of theirs, which is great. He comes in with a question that says, when are you getting a new logo? Replace Mantle and Gretzky with cards that you like. Okay, so this is what he's referring to. All right, this is the Crossovers like podcast cover. And you've got the Mantle, 52 Tops, a card forever linked with the crossover. And the Gretzky, 79, not sure if it's the Tops or the O-Pee-Chee. We'll say it's the O-Pee-Chee. But then we also have this Mahomes Prism and this Jordan Fleer. And I said to 1956 Tops guy, I said, I don't think we like any of the 4 cards.
I think I'd rather have the Mantle than that Fleer Jordan. The pop is longer, I think.
Yeah. But, and he said, you guys should put a LeBron and a Jordan and, put the players that you guys collect. But in a moment of seriousness, like, we don't do that because we're pretending. I don't know if that's not the right verb. We're trying to care about all cards.
You said that perfectly. We're trying to care about everyone's cards.
Yes.
We definitely try.
After 3.5 years, After 3.5 years.
Yeah, because we have we answer everyone's questions. We try to make this show reasonably, accurate to everyone's styles of collecting and stuff, and try to give good advice. But at the end of the day, we are 2 pretty particular, opinionated people who have our own collections we like, so that bleeds in.
Right. Jordan Hudson goes, it would be lame if it had Cliff, Paul, Hakeem, Gurley, and Hardaway. Right. Yep, I got that one, Chaz. I don't know where Stiff is at. I feel like that was a good candidate. All right.
That was a good one.
Let's go here. Next question from Hillcrest03. So, okay, his question involved a bet slip that showed that he had placed a $50 bet on Brock Purdy for MVP when the odds were plus 2,000. And now the odds are like plus 600. And his book is giving him the option to cash out for $100 so he can double his money. So his question is, although this is not a great sum of money, I could cash out and double my money and make a great return on investment. Do I cash out the double up now, or do I let it ride and take my chances on this Cinderella story persisting? Love the show, guys. Cheers. And also, he followed up with me, so I know what he's going to do. But before we say what he's going to do, what would you do? I saw how you voted on the poll, so I already know.
I thought that the cash out was higher, so I'm changing my answer.
Oh.
Since it's only $50, I say let it ride. If this was like like a $10,000 bet that you could cash out for 20, it'd be like, all right, time to take it. But $50, you're kind of betting 50 with the long shot in mind. See it through.
See it through. Yeah, that's what he said he's going to do anyway. So he's going to let it ride. I think he just wanted to show off his bet slip.
Sounds like a real gambler. He's like, let it ride, baby. Let's parlay this motherfucker.
Yeah. Yep, let it ride. But don't be totally surprised if this takes a turn for the worst here. Because so many, like he totally said, it's a Cinderella story. And you need so many things to keep going the way they've been going for it to stay where it is. And even with everything he's got going for himself, he's still like fourth in MVP odds, okay? I don't know how much more he can do. So, I think that there's too strong of the stench of system QB for, if we get to 17-0 and all the stats are still in place, then yeah. But I don't know. I would cash it out personally. I think it's tough. I go back and forth on this.
He's slowly getting closer to having more people say out loud. This kind of reminds me of Tom Brady's first couple of years, where he was a late round pick. He was winning a lot of games. People are questioning if it's a Belichick Patriot thing or is it Brady, and then he just and Brady wasn't like wowing with the big numbers early on. He was just coming up with the drive when he needed it. But Purdy's kind of like doing everything right now. His stats are crazy. I was laughing though because you quietly are like taking up this support of Purdy and you're having to like fight against it. It's not like a big thing yet, but you're slowly like moving towards that. And I want to just tell everybody, you're arguing against someone who's looking at past statistics all the time. Stop. He's not predicting. You're just arguing with someone who's sorting by the ranks and telling you what's at the top. You can't win.
So like on your Instagram stories, like you can see how many people like push like or send a positive. Dude, when I post the QBRs, no likes. Nobody likes that content.
Only one can be number one, and it's not their guy.
Dude, and people will like message me and like they'll be like, well, whatever. It reminds me a lot of Tua last year, and this actually is almost identical to Tua last year. Where I think he started 5-0 as well. I think he even maybe got to 6-7-0 or 8-0 before the concussion stuff happened, and he was leading all the statistical categories and stuff. Like it can really turn quick.
Mm-hmm.
It can turn really, really quick. So I would be cautious of that. But yeah, everybody gets so pissed when the QBRs hit. And to me, on Sundays and then after the Monday night game, I'm just refreshing the QBR page on ESPN every 5 minutes.
Did you listen to the newest Simmons where he interviews like 7 people?
I didn't get to that part. I fell asleep before I got to that part.
Well, he interviews a stat nerd guy. I forget his name now. Anyways, they're talking about EPA is like their favorite. Have you looked at EPA for quarterbacks?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, well, by the way, QBR is based on EPA.
Okay.
Yeah, what were they saying?
They were saying that I don't remember all of it, but like he was saying like Bijan is looking really good. He's saying, they're talking about CJ Stroud a lot. Like that CJ Stroud's EPA is really good.
Yep.
And he's off to a great start. And they thought, like their projections going into the year versus where he's ended up so far, and it's looking very promising for him. And they're kind of worried about Bryce Young. And I think they did a Purdy thing where he was basically like, the numbers are just too overwhelming. Like we just you can't argue against it anymore.
That hasn't stopped Steven Ruiz from putting him. I think he was ranked the 22nd best quarterback after Week 5. Oh my God! By the ringer, Steven Ruiz. Yeah.
The most public guy on this one is Nick Wright. He was just like, because he's a Dak Prescott guy, and they play each other, obviously. And just Monday morning, he just was like, "Oh my God!" He just got crushed, and they were like, "Are you just gonna admit that Purdy's good now?" And he just wouldn't. He's like, he's playing well right now. Yeah, he's always playing well. He's like literally undefeated.
It's been such a fall from grace for Nick Wright's affinity for statistics. He once like loved using them to make his arguments, and now he hates them. And he hates the players who are high on statistics. I don't know why. Where did I want to go with that? CJ Stroud, I think, is like a hidden gem right now, even more than Purdy. I think like Purdy is taking up the oxygen. He's sucking up all the oxygen that Stroud would probably be gathering if you didn't have Purdy this year. So Stroud is the Purdy of the Purdys, right?
He's a number 2 pick, though. He's gonna have a lot of excitement around him right away just because of the high draft pick.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have any cards yet, right? He has like 0 cards.
He has some Bowman University cards.
So yeah, no cards.
Oh yeah. Well, it's weird to think about, but like, had the motion for a temporary restraining order been granted by the NFLPA against Panini, all that we would have, I think, for this year's class would be unlike half licensed cards. So
I just am like, that's gonna leave a mark with me for a while. Just that Fanatics was like literally willing to have us lose football cards this year just for themselves. Like they didn't think about the hobby on that one. That kind of bothers me.
Yeah. Yep. That's unfortunate.
All we really want is like a smooth transition. We want the cards to be printed. It's not even that much we're asking. We're not even asking for. We've given up on having multiple companies competing. We're just asking for the consistency of continuing to make these products and have rookie classes. Well, if we didn't have a CJ Stroud rookie card, that would be horrible. This guy might be, awesome.
Yeah, it would be. And, a response to this is like, well, there were other eras of cards where, like the Joe Montana card, where like there was only one of the 2 licenses. You have the league license and the Players Association license, and that card only had the PA license. It didn't have the league license, and that's okay. And so like I grant that, right? Like that might be true. Maybe it all just washes over and nobody really cares. But here's the alternative situation. The alternative situation is like what hobby shops are kind of experiencing right now. And we also know kind of ourselves in particular with Card Ladder that the months of October, November, and December are almost always declining months in terms of prices and volumes and just general hobby interest. So this is normal. This is normally a down season, or at least it has been for the last 3 years. But we have situations where there's really not many, if any, good NBA or NFL products hitting the shelves at shops and online retailers right now. I know Flawless recently came out, and that's a big product. It's quite late, but that's a big product. And like some cool, Purdy Flawless cards are coming out, and people are getting excited about those. But there's a real issue right now of people walking into hobby shops and saying like, what's the new football? What's the new basketball? And it's like the best case scenario is that you get a product from, that has like last year's rookies in it. And when people are walking into these shops, they want to get, look, we're 5 weeks into the NFL season. When people walk into a hobby shop, they want to be able to get one of the better products that's going to have CJ Stroud rookies, and Bijan Robinson, and I guess Mosaic Football has come out, so that's a good one. And basketball, people are hearing about Wembanyama, and he's looking great in preseason. And people are going to be walking into hobby shops and like, hey, where's the Prism Wembanyama stuff? It's like, yeah, that's not coming for 6 months or whatever. I don't know when it is on the release calendar. Or in the case of football, if we really could have this possibility next year where like we just don't we don't have any of the major brands making fully licensed cards of either of these sports.
Super frustrating, man. I feel like it's a big miss. Just like you said, the timing is so bad. just imagine the hype around sports cards right now. If CJ Stroud rookies were popping off and people were pulling Wembanyama cards after his great preseason, so it's just like instead we're talking about last year's cards. So it's just a bummer. What did you think about the 2 Brock Purdy Shield autos coming to auction though?
Why would you sell them both at the same time?
From the seller or the consignment?
All of them. I question the entire decision-making process for whoever was involved in it of listing Purdy's Stars and Stripes NT Shield 1 of 1, PSA 1010, which is just like incredible to be in that great in that condition, and his NT Platinum 1 of 1 Shield, that's like the true shield of all shields, in a BGS 8.5 Auto 10, and they're both for auction right now in golden, and it just seems counterintuitive to run them against each other. And obviously, I think more of the attention's going to go to the better card, which is the true Platinum 1 of 1. Here, I'm pulling these up really quick. As I show these cards, maybe you could say a little bit about what you think about it.
Well, it seems like on those kind of cards, people do really like having the higher grade, so I feel like they're going to compete against each other because the one is clearly the better card, but the other's a higher grade. They're two. I'm with you. I don't know why you list them both. That one's clearly the better card, and that one has a bid already at $100,000.
Yeah. So right now, pre-BP, it's got 6 bids. Started with a very high bid. It's at $100,000. It's at $122,000 with the 22% BP, and then the other card is this one, which currently has 0 bids and a starting bid of $75,000. And this is Purdy's Stars and Stripes PSA 1010 Shield 1 of 1, which is just awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just sick.
Do you? Just like we have to be excited about last year's rookie 30 cards because there's no Stroud cards to compete with them. I don't know. It's just a weird. Like the whole thing is weird. You have to like you said, if someone walked into a card shop and the card shop owner has to explain all this to them, it's like, what? Why not? Do you have Wembanyama rookies or not? Like, I'm here to buy these cards. No, we don't have them. See you later. You know
exactly.
You don't have CJ. Oh, we've got Brock Purdy ones. He was a rookie last year. Yeah, but he's looking pretty good. Yeah, but I'm looking for this year's rookie class. That was last year.
Yeah, and something I've noticed like over the last 3, 4, 5 years is like people come and go in this hobby. Like sometimes it's funny to think about personalities and people who were here 5 years ago and then they left and you just out of sight and out of mind. We were thinking in the Michael Jordan chat about some of those personalities who they were big Michael Jordan guys on Facebook like 5 years ago, and now they're gone. We don't even hear from them or about them anymore. But they get replaced by new people who come in. And I'm not sure if the replacement fully replaces them or if there's more replacements or less, but people cycle in, some new people come in and people leave. Well, when people are trying to come in to collect football or basketball and the industry appears in disarray, I think there's a good chance we lose those people for good.
Yes.
And, they give it a shot or they go in with their kids or something and it's just like, yeah, this industry is in disarray.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't collect the new stuff. I don't rip wax, but I'm very aware that it's crucial to the hobby. Like if I want to have this industry succeed moving forward, that is like domino number 1 in my opinion, even more so than content creators or the history of these old cards grading companies. I feel like these new releases, the rookie classes being successful, having on-time releases, I feel like that would be the first thing I would choose to solve and have be successful for my own enjoyment in the hobby, which has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
I agree. And we've talked about this on the show before. I don't take the side of any corporation. I know that Panini was once involved in sort of acquiring the licenses themselves from previous long time stakeholders. So, like, I don't take the side of any corporation here. I just take the side, like you were saying, Josh, of the collectors in the hobby. And I think I would think that if it were laid out to the incoming manufacturer, which is Fanatics, that like it's going to be much better long term if you allow the hobby to prosper as much as it can, even if it's under a different manufacturer for the duration of these star-studded rookie classes, and then take over. You're going to be taking the reins of something with a much better chance of being prosperous than if we let the industry sit in this stalemate, in this state of disarray, and we start hemorrhaging collectors and not being able to bring in people. The state of the hobby was so much more organized and inviting and appealing when Zion was a rookie. And, you know, there was the excitement around him, the hype around him, and the people coming into the hobby because of him. It was all pretty smooth. You know, stuff was coming out on time. It was clear who the license holder was, and there were well-established brands making great cards of him. And I compare that, I remember vividly that era to what's going on right now, the level of uncertainty, and we already are dealing with sort of a pessimism in general. It reflects really poorly, I think, on the state of the business.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Related question here from 626 Sports Cards. What will be Victor Wembanyama's most desired card? The transition years between manufacturers are weird.
Because he's not going to have a autograph rookie card.
Correct.
With NBA license on it.
Correct.
Well, I mean, it's obviously going to be his Prism Black then, right?
I would think so. Yep.
Because Panini's going to make Prism for Wembanyama's rookie year. And you could argue that would be the most popular, even if he did have an NT logo man. But
possibly. Yep.
Now it's pretty, it's like a slam dunk.
Yeah. Yep. So it's Wembanyama's rookie stuff's going to be heavily skewed towards there will be autograph cards. He has Bowman U autograph cards. I'm sure he'll have more throughout the course of the season. But for fully licensed stuff in the Spurs uniform, yeah, it's just going to be patch cards, presumably, and base set cards and base set parallels and inserts.
But he might have a Shield NT without an auto, right? Sorry, Shield. I'm still an NFL brain. That's gonna take a while.
Yeah. Oh, I was already watching when I had to choose between Chiefs, Broncos, and preseason NBA. My gaze was more focused on the preseason NBA.
I know.
Just had to get my little NBA propaganda in there. All right.
I won't fight it. I'll just let it happen. Well, it's good. I'll stick around with NFL, and you can jump into NBA, and we'll have a good balance.
There you go. You be Sal, and I'll be Bill. How about that?
It's no fun. I always laugh when they do that when, like in the first 5 minutes, Bill compares one of the players to an NBA. He's like, "Wow, we made it 5 minutes. Good job, Bill."
Yeah, that's good. Okay. He had a bad take at the beginning of his most recent.
Yeah, we should count how many minutes it takes for you to make fun of Bill's takes. You love. They're like your new thing.
It's a sign of affection.
You're the Bill aggregator. You're the Bill aggregator.
Well, does it count him making fun of it when he says, like, he didn't get to a certain part yet in the episode because he fell asleep during the podcast?
That's not a reflection of the podcast. That's because literally I put it on as I'm going to sleep because I can't wait the next day. I can't wait for it to come out. I listen to it the night it comes out.
Yeah, see, you make fun of him and you make fun of his takes, but it's the most consistent podcast you listen to.
By far. And when he took his weeks off, I was like the couch man times 10. All right. Yeah. I was so sad that he took that summer break.
Because his content is so good. It's very organized and entertaining.
Yep. What was the thing that he talked about first in the Thursday night podcast? He had like his own little monologue. Oh, he was talking about how the NFL is going to go to 18 games and he thinks the regular season is just too random now. if the NFL goes from 17 to 18 games, it will become less random. The larger the sample gets, the less randomness can impact it.
Yeah, he was talking about the other sports mostly, I think. He was talking about like the NBA is too long, but they won't shorten it because of money. And MLB is like ridiculously skewed in this way, like way too far. Because he talked about how the Dodgers basically had this 162 game season. They had this great season. They had a great record. And then in the blink of an eye, in like 3 days, their season was over because they lost 3 games. And it was like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah, and then he proposed having home teams get. This was not a serious proposition, right? He was like, if you went over 100 games in baseball, in your 5-game series, you should be the home team for all 5 games.
Because but then later he was saying how like the home teams don't really have much of an advantage in baseball anyways. Like, then why are you even arguing that? Like, the whole point of having the home games split across the 2 teams is so that each team could make money from it. Like, each team can get revenue from their home crowd. But he didn't talk about that.
No, he's mad because the Patriots once were incredible, and now they're terrible.
Woohoo, man! What?
Yeah, welcome to the club.
What fan would not trade their franchise's history for the Patriots? Name one. Like, can you even name one?
No, not in football.
Like the Steelers, maybe. Like, they kind of love their own tradition, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like they'd trade.
Dude, the Patriots is on par with like the '90s Bulls.
Yeah, it's like they have 6 championships, right?
Yeah.
My Cardinals have never even sniffed a fucking. Well, I guess they have. They got close to winning one, but my God, get over it, man.
Right. Yeah. So, I think the opinion that I've come to on Bill, after many years of listening and learning and absorbing, is that great organization, great topics, great preparation, pretty good to great research and like background, and usually not so great opinions on sports.
So you don't like the OKC thing?
Oh my God, that's his Steelers for the. He said Steelers, dark horse #1 candidate in the AFC, and now he's Oklahoma City as the dark horse for the West.
Let me defend Bill here. He picked the Steelers to win the freaking 1 seed in the AFC. He picked the Thunder to finish 4th.
The 4th. Okay, yeah. So it's not quite. Yeah. It's not quite.
Yeah. He's not completely insane.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't love it. I don't love the Thunder take. The Shea Gilgeous hype. Everything that we're supposed to like criticize young players for, which is like you can't be a good stats bad team guy. You have to win playoff series. You know, you have to, have the team around you, and Shea Gilgeous has never won a playoff game except for when he was like a role player on the Clippers during his first or second season.
Hold on a second there. Let's calm down here, and let's remember that Chris Paul played for the Thunder and got them into the playoffs in the bubble and got a couple wins there against the Rockets.
Right.
You meant to
he did.
say without Chris Paul leading him.
Yes, good. Or maybe a better way to phrase it is Shea Gilgeous has never won a playoff game as a number 1 option.
Yes, there you go. Chris Paul is the number 1 on that team. That's crazy. That Chris Paul was the number 1 option on the Thunder at one point.
Yeah. That's why a non-shocking take here. I think the Warriors are going to be really good.
What's the next question? What the next question? He was trash tonight. I'm on. What's that? You always say this whenever
I know.
He's gone.
I hate it.
That dude is trash to me now. He's going to be terrible this year. He can't shoot anymore. He's 38. No, it's over.
Yep. The Thunder, like, we'll see. Like, they're good. They're young. As one podcaster I was listening to this week said, beware of the Utah Jazz syndrome, where like last year the Jazz started really hot and then regressed. I would beware of that. But what are like now you've got Chet who's going to be taking 15 field goal attempts. Jalen Williams is going to need more. Giddey's getting better.
Cason Wallace.
Yeah, they're rookie. Like, is Shea going to be able to put up 31, 6, and 5 again? No, probably not.
You know why he likes the Thunder? Because historically his content was based around assets and like trade assets, and like the trade machine was always his thing, and he was big on like contracts and how you rank them. And the Thunder just have like the most assets, so he just sees that roster and the draft picks they have, and he just is like so excited about the content there.
Yeah, well, he was reaming the Lakers for the Anthony Davis trade, and then they won the championship.
And now he loves the Lakers because I don't know, he just pivots on them so quick.
Yeah, no, he wants to hate them, and then when they look like pretty good, he overcorrects and loves them.
And you're just like, you should write a website.
I should
just like organize his takes and like follow up on them years later and stuff. You're on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good. I don't know if my brain power can handle comparing field goal percentages of James Harden and Russell Westbrook to figure out who is better. So,
did you see Harden like outwardly say in his interview today that his relationship with the Sixers is like done? And this guy is just like, he says the things that a lot of people are thinking. He just says them. He's firing from the hip today.
Dude, he takes no hostages. Yes.
I just want to say that this is redemption for Ben Simmons because the Sixers treated him like shit and the whole world blames Simmons. And now Harden's here calling them out vocally. And like, I just want to say that like Philly fans need to apologize to Ben Simmons.
Ooh. Wow. That's a good take.
Yeah, that is. She felt strongly about the 76ers organization right there. Yeah, and Harden said that he wanted to retire a 76er, but they wouldn't do that.
He says the craziest stuff, man. I can't even like take him seriously anymore.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, what's a 76er? Sure, dude.
Our next question here is from Trading Card Finds, who says, please discuss Topps' announcement of first stitch cards. Okay. So here's what they look like. Topps first stitch card. And then it has this piece of memorabilia with this, what do you call that thing?
Hologram?
The hologram, exactly. This is a Trey Turner card, introducing first stitch cards, and then there's just a very brief caption that goes with it that says, the MLB authenticated patch contained in these cards is a piece of the player's first ever manufactured jersey, which is edited because I believe it originally said, the comments on this are rough. I believe it originally said that this was the player's first ever mass-produced jersey, which was just a very weird, Fanatics mass-produced jersey. It was a weird turn of phrase. Like, wasn't sure what that was. If that was supposed to get the collector excited.
I have so many questions because I don't know what you just said. The phrasing is still confusing. Yep. So this is not a game worn jersey.
No.
What is the first manufacturer? What does that mean?
This.
Okay. I got this.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Is this like a first edition Harry Potter book or some crap?
So but what they mean is this is the first licensed jersey that Fanatics, ever created for that player, for a fan to wear. But instead of selling that first stitch jersey, they cut it up and put it in a card, and you should be excited to wear or to have a piece of history that has never seen the player himself.
Is that cleared up?
It is, but hold on a second. if you never actually distribute it out, is it actually a real, or like, am I really supposed to believe that they like someone went to the manufacturing line and was like, which one was the first? That one right there. Oh, take it off the line. This is the first one. These other ones, they just get mixed in a lot of them. They're all the
You
same.
saw the hologram, right? I mean, that's what that hologram is letting you know.
Yeah, I know you're joking, but like, come on, man. This is seriously. They're gonna pick. How do you even know which one's the first one? So they're all the same.
So, all right. Here's a sampling of some of the comments.
Mass produced. That they changed the phrasing because it's like it's in the phrase. Yeah, these are literally they're all the same. How can you distinguish it?
This comment gathered 241 likes, and it says, just a fancy way of saying not player or game related.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Cards KC says, the fact that you're advertising this as a good thing shows how out of touch with reality leadership is.
This is why the game worn thing is important, because it is like a way to at least distinguish it somehow. Like these other ones are just different phrasing of like, yeah, it's just a jersey.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, game worn puts a natural limit on how much can be made. And like anytime you impose natural limits on production, it's going to be something that is good for collectors and good for the market, but not necessarily good for the manufacturer.
I didn't plan on sending some strays to NFTs, but this is why I always thought NFTs were ridiculous, because you could just infinitely produce them. There's no limit. There's no rules or boundaries in which they can live. Like, oh, you have the highlight of this dunk. Oh, but there's 20,000 versions of them, and there's like they're out of 50,000 now instead of 20 because we made it other ones. It's just like, great, just you're trying to put lipstick on a pig here. It's just it's just the card with the jersey piece in it.
Some comments got even a little more severe. Whose lame idea was this? Whoever it was had no clue and should be fired immediately.
Because we liked the MLB first day patch, or what is it? You know what I'm talking about? What was that called?
Debut patch,
like that idea because it's unique and it stands out, and it's like a one of one because we know he wore it on his first game and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah. Are you ready for the zag, or can we? I want to pile on sufficiently here.
The zag is that your zag is gonna be stupid, but sure.
Yes, it is. But also, hat tip to Bill Simmons for the concept of the zag. He and Russillo introduced the zag to my lexicon.
All right, let's hear it.
Here's the zag. First of all, probably, almost definitely, ends up being a terrible idea. It's like, let's get that out of the way. Okay.
You have to be right. Yeah, you want to be right either way.
Yes. So, yeah, I'm covering all my bases. Let's just say that. But this is what's so difficult, putting yourself in the shoes of the creative person who's coming up with these ideas, or the team or whatever, is that if you have a genuinely innovative or creative idea, it's going to be hated also. Mm-hmm. Because if it was an obviously good idea, it wouldn't be innovative. It wouldn't push the boundaries. It wouldn't do anything novel. So the response to a genuinely terrible idea versus the response to a genuinely revolutionary great idea is oftentimes going to look the same, which makes it hard to differentiate between the two. And that's why I want to caution here and point out that if this were actually like a home run idea, people would still hate it, because if they could recognize that it was a good idea, it wouldn't be innovative. It wouldn't be revolutionary. Okay, so that's like the first thing to think about here. And that's something that I hope the people at Tops and Fanatics are keeping in mind. Now, with that said, I think I can acknowledge what they were trying to do. What they were trying to do is find a way to capture the idea of the first. And there was this gimmicky the optics of like this is the first off the line of Fanatics doesn't look great because the company making the apparel is the company making the cards, and it just sort of seems like one hand washing the other. Is that the metaphor? I don't know. But I get the thought. I understand what was trying to be done. What was trying to be done is to like say, look, we're not going to have this isn't going to be game used or player worn. But what's the next best thing we could do? How could we take the Dick's Sporting Goods jersey concept?
I'm going to solve it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, you know where this is going. All right. So what do you?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I wanted to make sure that I remembered, so I'm putting a little pin in that. Keep going.
Okay. So this is the best possible way to do the Dick's Sporting Goods. This is the best possible way to do it.
Dude, do not pause in the middle of your sentence like that.
All right, this is the best way to do that. Is, well, if it's going to be an off the rack jersey, let's make it be the first official one from the official manufacturer. Okay, all right. So that's I get the thought behind this, and I also obviously understand why the optics of this are bad. And I also obviously understand why people hate this. So I get all that, right? But I also I pause for a second because creativity is a thing that needs space to fail, and it's going to fail. And then also when something revolutionary or innovative is introduced, it's going to be hated, just the same as if it were a terrible idea. Just like how if you go back and read those mid-'90s Beckett magazines, people hated the refractor parallel, right? Not saying that this is the refractor parallel. I don't think this is it. Just to be clear, this ain't it. But there was a zag brewing in there that I think I executed somewhat there. Okay, go ahead, Josh.
And Carvin in the chat was talking about how when Exquisite first came out, everyone hated the price point. It was like this new thing of we were used to packs being distributed a certain way, being a certain price point, and then all of a sudden we came out with this high-end luxury product of card, and it really kind of pissed people off. All right, can you show the picture of that card again? I'm going to solve it. I'm going to solve... Christina's going to hate this, but I'm giving away a free idea tonight.
Christina, cover your
Just because I feel like look at this patch. What the fuck is that? It's like a red fucking carpet looking thing. What is that? Okay, here's the solve. You ready?
Yep, let's go.
You got two categories of patches. One, it's game worn, and you have provenance of it. The back of the card is very clear. It says this was game worn from this game on this date. We received this shirt, whatever. It has to be very clear. The other category is that this is not game worn. It's not. And we're not going to tell you where we got it from because it doesn't matter. It's just not game worn. Who cares? And it's going to be a fucking sick looking patch. Amazing. These jerseys are so cheap. They're literally called mass produced jerseys. Buy a fuck ton of them. Cut out the logos of the teams, the jersey, the names on the back of the jerseys, the freaking seals, the logo mans, whatever. Cut those out. Put them in there. Because if you're not going to make it game worn, then it's just like an aesthetic thing for the patch to be awesome. We just want the patches to be sick. Why would I want a non-game worn of a freaking single color red thing with a hologram on it? It doesn't make any sense. It's out of touch.
I think that would be terrific. And I think that's one of the most obvious questions is why aren't these gorgeous 90 color patches? I mean, you know what I mean?
I just don't understand it. One of my favorite cards is Lamar Jackson's RPA because all the patches are bananas. Why can't they do that for everybody?
Yep. Valid point. Yep. But I'm not mad at Topps for trying something outside the box either.
But if those are literally mass produced and it's the first one,
I know.
Then just get them all chunky Phillies patches or whatever team that was. That whole Phillies logo is like, how many letters is that? There's so many letters from the name.
Yeah, I think there's a hope that this would be intermediate, somewhere halfway in between player worn versus Dick's Sporting Goods. It would be like there's a level of authenticity to this one that's a little bit better than Dick's Sporting Goods, but a little bit less than player worn. And that might be true. I don't know.
Well, in the chat, they're talking about how if all the patches were sick, then nobody would want them because then there's no rarity. I'm saying if you're going to create this little idea of like, oh, the first stitch is this like unique thing, and it's like the one that you should be chasing, then make those chase cards the sick patches. If you want to make that rarity and distribution across, don't put some fancy name on it and make the chase of it that it was the first mass manufacture. Make the chase of it that the patch is sick.
Fair enough.
Same concept. We know it's mass produced, therefore make the chase. If you're gonna make it mass produced and that's what you're marketing to me, and we know that, then make the patch sick because you control it.
For sure. And keep trying to innovate, even though there's a barrage of justifiably upset and hypercritical comments. Keep trying to innovate. Not all of them are going to be successes, and that's completely fine. All right. Cardboard Insights chimes in with this. What role does the seemingly increasing need for instant gratification have on collectors, potentially giving up or not even trying to chase certain cards? It feels like the long game is really underrated right now.
I like this question. It's kind of one of those ones that I want to just let it simmer. I haven't had a lot of mail days, so I'm really feeling this question. The long term is good. It's kind of like the zag to what we've been saying, where it's like, oh, buy stuff along the way and then after sell it all. It might not be a bad idea also to just save up money and kind of sit back and watch things unfold, especially right now when there's a lot of uncertainty with, everything we've been talking about so far, plus, the market struggling a little bit. So it's not a bad play.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this is great. I've been arriving at a similar point of view recently as this, that the long game, that waiting, that determining which cards are your chase cards and then waiting for them to come to market rather than having, your eBay safe searches turned on and just sort of surveying the landscape every day and then seeing what hits the big time auctions like the Golden Elites and the PWCC Premieres. And just saying, okay, well, what would I choose of these? And going for one of those and sort of letting the supply dictate to you what the permissible, landscape of collectible cards is. Instead, figure out what are your true cards you're seeking and then waiting or finding ways to go get those. I definitely come to appreciate that point of view a ton recently. And I think that there's a surprising amount of buying that's done in the hobby that's just kind of let me walk around the show floor and see what cards are there and get the one, compromise on the one that I think is the coolest of the available. And then that same mentality taking place with buying online. And that scratches the short-term itch. But in the longer run, it proves frustrating, or even it can actually be, it can impede your ability to really go out there and get the card that you were, when the card that you really wanted in your heart of hearts becomes available, then you find yourself, like I do right now, in a position where I shouldn't have been limiting the scope of my vision to just what sellers are willing to make available right now.
Yeah. I like that you brought up the example of the show because I remember, especially the first few big shows I went to, it was like I have to leave the show buying something. It feels like a waste for me to come all the way out here and join this new hobby for me and not like jump in head first and buy something exciting. So I get kind of both sides of it.
Yeah, and I find myself also getting back to that place where, like, if I do want to keep picking up cards along the way, that I don't let the pile get too large.
Mm-hmm.
Because I went through a period where, like, I just let it accumulate too much, and then now I've found myself in a position over the last month where, like, two very important, desirable cards have become available, and now I'm like scrambling to raise funds, right? So
broke ass.
Yeah.
Broke ass.
There's a good title. Let's go.
Chris plays Lefko wants to do a poker tournament national, and the buy-in is a random card from your case selected by Chris blindfolded.
What, from like, so everybody pulls up with their Pelican case?
And you sit there and pick out the card they're buying in.
Oof. But they can't know it in advance, or they're gonna empty the Zion or the Pelican case.
True.
Of all their
Yeah. I'll bring you all my base Lucas.
Yeah.
Gary Vee just has like a Pelican case of 1,000 of them.
What version of poker are we talking about? No Limit Hold'em?
I know nothing about poker. Nothing.
Coach strikes me as a pot limit Omaha guy.
Yeah, I'm more of a blackjack guy, as you saw. We were good. That's our game now. We switched from craps. We're blackjack guys now, officially.
Yeah, I know. I don't even remember how to play craps.
it's complicated then.
I just remembered David Owens
45, yeah,
looking over at me and saying, "People making money along the way."
Well, the 45 thing, remember? Like, he's like, Bulls, MJ comeback jersey number, let's go.
That was one of the most fun nights I ever had playing cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lefko, I've had a similar problem. I keep checking my mailbox every day for my autographed Lefko A&G card, and it hasn't shown up yet. So I'm starting to wonder if it exists as well. We'll just have to see. Oh, no. Spurs cards, all I got was Lefko, the worst. That's unkind. All right.
This chat's undefeated. You can't come into this chat trying to humble brag and not get it slammed back in your face.
All right, let's go. USMNT Soccer Cards asks, did this discussion of the flipper versus the collector exist before the last hobby cycle?
Yes, it definitely did. It was kind of more of dealer versus collector from my recollection, especially centered around the shows. Like, you were either a dealer or you were a collector walking around trying to buy cards, and the dealer was kind of like the middleman that was facilitating a lot of it. And now it's more the flipper. Like, it kind of became this like garage sale flipper category post the boom, and before it really was like more of a service, like a middleman service.
Yeah, Rodman says it was a Blowout Forums weekly topic.
Yeah, but yeah. Took me a second. Nice job, Rodman.
Yeah.
I have a zag.
There was like a.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
No, my zag is a new topic. The blowout thing just made me think of my zag that I don't want to forget.
Go for it.
We're gonna be like going back to blowout because Instagram is a fucking like nightmare right now. I can't scroll without just seeing influencer garbage, and there's like no cards. And we're gonna go back to like, at least on the forums, it's like we can see the topics and not click on them when they suck. Whereas Instagram, you're just stuck looking at everything.
Fair. Yeah, you do get a warning. You get, like, when you click into a story, anything might be around the corner. But if you get at least the preview from the title of the thread. You can pick and choose as you'd like. But it was always destined that Instagram and social media was going to end up here. It was just kind of a matter of time.
Algos.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
No, algos, algorithms. They're just all over us.
There are some people who are pretty, who felt like there was like this pre-existing type of hobbyist who doesn't really exist anymore so much, but it was tolerated or permitted to have a person who's a flipper and a collector at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so their goal was constantly acquiring cards that are the types of cards that collectors would typically go for, but they're constantly flipping those cards to just consistently get better collector cards. So it's a collector flipping collector cards, but ostensibly at some point the music stops and you end up with your collector cards that you keep. But the journey was sort of like continuously increasing your ability to get cards by flipping, but the goal wasn't to, make money and go buy a Airbnb property or something. The goal was to just make money to be able to get better cards constantly.
Yes. And then you would like get to that card and stash it away and like keep flipping the other stuff that you have, and you eventually like lock it into something.
Right. Exactly. And the question of like what happens at the end, like at the end of the rainbow, is there a pot of gold, is an important one to me. Like if the end of the rainbow is ending up with an awesome Grail card, then like flipping is it's less painful to the hobby ecosystem than if the end of the rainbow is, hey, I generated, $100,000 in profits from flipping cards, and like I use them to buy a Mercedes. That's a tough blow to the hobby because the money leaves the ecosystem and never comes back. So
the dealer middleman also used to, at least from my perspective, and maybe it's because I was new, but that persona would have access to cards that I couldn't get access to because they weren't on all these platforms or they weren't on social media yet, and we didn't know who these people were. We didn't know where these collections resided, and the dealers, they had access to these folks and they knew where these cards were. But now it's like you buy a card on one auction house and then you try to flip it, at the show a day later for double the price, or the opposite, you buy it at a show and try to put it on eBay and double. That's like the new flipping, which is less of a service, connecting cards to collectors, and more of just like a zero-sum game of like trying to, turn a nickel into a house without any actual value.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. And Mike Pinkerton on this topic says, what percentage of flippers have become collectors over the last few years?
You made one of the options literally 0%?
Yes.
That's impossible.
Why is that?
Because one person, you don't think a single person, not even one person has done it?
Cage messaged me and said, there must be some percentage of flippers who have become collectors by default.
And you were like, no, it's 0.
I just wanted to give the option for 0 for people who wanted to take that angle.
Yeah. But because I was like thinking like 5, but then I was like, man, you actually have one that's 0. Like you wanted the person who was like angry enough to click 0 with like to show their distaste. Yes, I get it.
Yes, and 0 got some votes too. I don't remember how many.
I bet.
Erica just put 0 in the chat.
There we go.
We got a 0. I was thinking like 5. It's not high.
What does it take for a flipper to become a collector? Like, how would that process work?
Let's ask Summertime Cards. What made him turn into a collector? Or Jeff, isn't that his thing? Like he's a collector now, right?
Yes. Now you know why I put 0.
Because I can't think of one. I never think of somebody.
I think theoretically the way it works is somebody comes in, and can I just say this? I've always felt this way. Coming into cards strictly to make money was always so weird to me.
You're like, why don't you do real estate instead, bro?
Yes. Why don't you do any number of tasks or skilled labor?
Like, get a job.
It just shocked me because it's like, I get it if like you have a nostalgic connection to cards, or like you just have this like nerdy enjoyment of cards that many of us have on various levels, or you just love cards, whatever. Then I get it. Because then it's like, yeah, you love this stuff. And then like as a byproduct of it, oh, I can possibly make money through this stuff. And then I get it, right? Then it makes sense to me. But like forcing yourself into this weird niche community and industry and market strictly because like you're like, wow, this is a gold mine. Yeah, that never made any sense to me at all. So, but if such a person existed, then I think the way you would think it would work is like, well, at first, they're moving and transacting and dealing these cards, but eventually they get one in their hand one day and they're like, you know what? I actually enjoy this item. Like, I understand why people pay money for this now. I actually value some of these things over their market value. And that's really kind of like the economic equation of a collector is, if you reduced it to a math equation, it's just the collector values the card more than the amount of money that it could bring them.
Yeah.
That's like the economic formula for what a collector is. And maybe some of the people who started without seeing the value of the card, people who looked at cards and valued their cash equivalent as more than the privilege of owning it, maybe at some point that changes for at least some of the cards that they have. So I think maybe that's the process by which it could happen. And, or just maybe a simpler way of putting it is just at some point they transition and they're like, yeah, I actually like the cards. Right?
I'm sure there's some people for sure that came in as primarily flippers, but I'm thinking back to, I say it's like low, like 2 to 5%, just because I'm thinking most of those cases, it's the reverse. You just come in as a collector, and like you said, you eventually like, hey, I've got this skill, or I've got this thing that I'm doing already. I might as well, while I'm here, make a few bucks. I was thinking like how everyone wants to like market to people to like get them to join the hobby and like convince them to do this and tell them all the reasons why. And most of those reasons are like, oh, you can make money like I did. I'm just thinking back to like why I got into the hobby, and it was never anyone, convincing me or showing me. It was just that like I feel like you stick with it more long term if you kind of come to that conclusion on your own, or you're drawn to it more organically on your own, or you reach this point in your life when you want to hit some nostalgia from your childhood or whatever the reason is to jump back in. I just can't ever see the reason being like, hey, this guy flips and I'm going to be a flipper now. And then we're supposed to expect that person to like organically turn into a collector. It just doesn't make any sense. They're going to want to like find that on their own.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And like, we're also like, I think we're always going to seek out things to sort of confirm our biases along the way. And like one thing that like that has confirmed my collector bias quite a bit is ironically the fact that I've been selling, cards over the last few weeks to replenish funds and to build a war chest for a new one that's ending soon. And nothing sort of like builds my confidence more in collecting than realizing or feeling the sense of community or the sense of camaraderie that you get when you see that other people collect and pay money for the same stuff that you collect and pay money for as well. That's like a really strong validation that is a nice one to receive every once in a while.
Yeah, but you do that with people who are already in the space around. Like you join in this thing. You join in, and then it's like, oh, there's other people that are weird like me, and they like this very specific card or this set or whatever, and then you just kind of bond over it. But the idea to like reach out to somebody who doesn't like it or is in some other industry is very strange to me.
It is strange.
Like us trying to convince NFT people, like, come on, jump over. Like this is, it's different. And it's actually harder over here. You gotta like, it's physical. It's way more difficult. You're gonna love it. It just is so weird to me. Like you'll find it if you like it.
Yep, agreed. All right, next question here from Nonsense Name Cards. Often enjoy the show. Often.
Ouch.
Parentheses, I'm not a cheap date like Vinny. When you talk about collecting, it often trends to a discussion around graded cards. I'm guilty of this myself, but I know that is not how you view it. I was hoping you would discuss how albums or boxes of raw cards fit into your collection. I've gone through some consolidation this year, but at the end of the day, the 300th graded card I can sell, and probably even the 30th, is so much more disposable than the hundreds of cards I have in albums or top loaders. I know Josh has a great Penny Hardaway album, and Chris and Christina have so many raw cards that he can just drop them all the time before sending them off to grading. How do you view the role of raw cards in the hobby and their popularity as a proxy for overall hobby health?
Look, before you guys answer this, I just want to say, he says he often enjoys the show, but even when he doesn't enjoy it, it sounds like he still listens to it because he's throwing little nuggets in there the whole freaking time.
Yeah, my dropping of the raw cards is like 3 years old.
Yeah, so I just want to say he might not be a cheap date, but he's the kind of date that we like.
All right, Christina approves.
Ben, Nonsense Name Cards. He's a great collector. We looked at his page on Instagram on this show a few years ago. He's got a great collection. He's sent me some cards, for free. He was the one that sent me, I think, the biggest bust of all time cards. He sent me like a Jamarcus Russell rookie. Great guy. No, he's right. Like we don't talk about raw cards a lot, but I mean it's a big part of our collecting. All my Todd Gurley stuff is raw. I've cracked all of it out. I had like PSA 10s of lots of stuff, and I cracked it all out. So there's it's really for me like I'm either going for like the top end, super high end graded of something, or I'm going for like the best, but in like the cheapest player or variation that I can get, so that I can enjoy it at scale and like have it in binders and raw and stuff. So it is like another aspect of collecting that I like.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm not totally getting on board with this, and I'll tell you why. I have so many raw cards that it's a nuisance. I have probably, Christina, we probably have 6 5-rows that have 2,000, 3,000 cards apiece.
At least.
Okay, so that's maybe 15,000 cards.
So at least 2 of those 5 rows are completely full.
Yeah, and then we have maybe 6 to 8 binders that are completely full.
Yeah.
And they have the 2015-16 Donruss Basketball Master set.
No, that's not even that. Like that is in a shoebox because it's all organized by set from the product.
Okay, well, not to the shoeboxes yet.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that those binders are like the Metal Universe set.
Binders. Yeah. Once I bought like the Metal Universe set, the Metal Universe Championship set and stuff. Okay, so we have like binders of raw cards.
You're about to say it.
And then we have shoe boxes.
Yeah.
I have a shoe box of like probably 250 worthless autographed cards that were not worth grading, and are like a Dino Raja Chronicles sticker autograph. Okay.
We open a lot of products.
Okay, so that's why I love the raw Zag. I get it. And I know people have way many more raw cards than us. All right. I know that. We probably have 25 to 30,000 raw cards. There's people who have hundreds of thousands. All right. So we're not even scratching the surface of them. But even having the amount that we have, okay, even having the amount that we have.
Can you start over? I forget where how many do you have?
That's good.
God's like, no, you're almost done.
A nuisance. All right. It is a nuisance having all these raw cards. And not just a nuisance, it's a source of anxiety. It creates this feeling of work ahead of just like, because not all of it's organized and not all of it's been sorted through, and like there's some valuable cards sitting in there that shouldn't be sitting in there, and it's a source of stress. But it's also fun. Like once every year or 2 years, it's great to like sit down in front of one of those 5 rows and just go through it and remember where these cards came from and like find a cool card of a cool player that you forgot or whatever. Yes.
I was just going to say that, like, my entire Maxi PC is raw. I have that in a Pelican case, all organized by year and product. And, like, so, like, it depends because, like, it's like the Todd Gurley collection that Josh has. Like, so we have the unorganized, but we also have raw cards that are organized.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, that's the heart of the raw Zag is, like, when a card is raw, you're not putting the emphasis on the value. I think that's one of the key parts of appreciating the raw card. And also cards obviously are better in the raw condition. You can simply because you can enjoy the card, you can smell the card if you wanted to, you can feel the texture of it. You don't have a piece of plastic, no matter how translucent that plastic is. You have a better view of the card when it's not in that holder. So I understand the raw movement. I get it. I appreciate it. I respect it. But, like, I'm just slightly zagging on the raw right now.
Would you zag these nuts?
Okay. All right. Also on the topic of raw cards, rookie patch auto.
Some of my family texted me. Did you just see this? Have you heard of this guy, Ruben? I think he works in your industry. He was on Shark Tank tonight. Like, yes. Yes, he does.
Yeah, and he apparently like undercut Mark Cooper.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Wait, hold on. So, Ruben undercut the cheapest MFer in the NBA.
Thank you for stealing my content. Yes.
That sounds like an amazing person that I want in charge of everything.
Okay. All right.
He's paying Kyrie Irving. He's not that cheap.
He is paying Kyrie Irving. You know, if you asked me to go into a laboratory and come up with the worst possible superstar to team up with Luka, I would come up with a $40 million a year, 6'2", aging, injury-prone shooting guard whose primary skills involve ball handling, scoring the ball, doesn't play a lot of defense, and needs a high volume of shot attempts to be effective.
James Harden?
Well, yes, right.
Wait, he's taller than 6'2". You're right. He's short. He's like the short James Harden.
James Harden is not making $40 million a year. I believe it's 36.
So you want Westbrook?
Yeah, I mean, that's that. I'm slanting that to say that doesn't fit with Luka at all. In the same way that if you were to say, what's the worst superstar you could think of to pair with Kyrie? How about an oversized, slow-pace point guard who plays heliocentric style, doesn't give much effort on defense, has an issue with complaining to referees. Okay, no matter whose perspective you take of it, these guys' weaknesses compound and magnify each other's weaknesses, and their strengths are duplicative. They are not a good pair of players. period. And people will come back to, well, LeBron and Kyrie were good together. Well, they did win a championship together, obviously. But there was a Thinking Basketball podcast from a few weeks ago, and one of the tangents of that show was explaining that the on-off stuff with Kyrie and LeBron was not great. And LeBron was a far better pairing with Anthony Davis than he was with Kyrie. And that's the same. That's what Luka needs. Is he needs either a very talented big, or just forget the superstar thing and put 3-and-D around him. Anyway, sorry, I got off on a tangent there. I don't even know what we were talking about. Oh, Cuban and Root.
I didn't want to talk about it. I just brought it up.
We have another question about Raw. Everybody's trolling tonight. All right, we have another question about Raw. Rookie Patch Auto says, what's your process for grading Raw cards? Do you clean them? What does it involve? Any lessons learned from the process? I'm grading for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Clean them in terms of I just get like a microfiber cloth, set them out on a clean surface and just kind of go over them with getting all the lint off them or whatever, and then put them in the penny sleeve, put them in the, then I put them in the card saver and send them off.
Yeah. First of all, I think it's possible to do a lot more damage to cards than you realize by using the cloth or trying to take fingerprints off, etc. So I remember Josh Keane would always say to me he would never even touch a card before sending it in for grading. He even sort of had a theory that if the grader sees a fingerprint on the card or on the back, that they have the confidence to know that this card has not been cleaned up excessively or whatever, and that somehow that benefits the card or it elevates the card in the mind of the grader. I'm not sure that that's true, but I get the spirit behind it. So there's definitely need to be cautious, extremely cautious, with the possibility of doing microscopic damage to the surface of the card by using a cloth on it. And there's this other concept of cleaning the card. I strongly advise not doing that. If you're confident that you have the ability to remove a fingerprint or grease from when you were enjoying your McDonald's and looking at your cards, go for it, right? I think that's permissible to take off your fingerprints or grease or moisture that may have accumulated on the card. Beyond that, that's a very slippery slope. It's potentially fraud if it reaches level of alteration and it's not disclosed when you then later sell the card, consistent with the customs and practices of the industry. So I don't know if that's what this question is leaning towards, but I can't say with enough emphasis and clarity that outside of what Josh laid out, just taking a microfiber cloth, leave it alone, don't do it. It ain't going anywhere good for you.
Well, we haven't really touched on this subject because there have been a lot of companies pop up recently in the cleaning space. I saw several at Burbank, and I was fascinated by this because I just felt like it would become a hotter topic because people are like, oh, should I be sending all my stuff to these? Are these guys getting better grades? Are these grading companies becoming more aware of it? Are they allowing it? Are they not? And the grading companies haven't said that they're okay with it. They definitely have not come out and been like, yeah, we endorse company XYZ for cleaning your cards, and we would love to help you clean cards before. They have not done that. So until they do, there's no way that I'm going to be trusting any of those companies, to be honest with you. And anything past just hey, there's some hair on my card or some lint or a fingerprint that I can, a chrome card where I can just wipe it off with a microfiber. That's all I'm doing. No wax. Certainly no messing with the corners. Definitely no humidity. I've seen some of that. That seems risky to me. I'm more in the camp of Josh Keane. I'm more worried I'm going to do damage to it. I'm not like a surgeon. I don't know what I'm doing. Like I would be too scared.
Yeah. All right. From Carlson Cards, have you ever called dibs on a card with a friend or friends? Let's say you or your hobby friend would pay X dollars for a card, and then you find out that they were only willing to bid $20 less than X. So you would have won the card anyway. Well, what could happen is the other person no longer ends up bidding, and they get dibs next time. What are your thoughts on this? Just genuinely curious, because on the one hand, it seems like a logical way to not bid somebody up. But on the other hand, then the comp will now be lower. I feel like this happens more than we think, especially on niche players and sets. And when I say the comp is lower, I mean for the sake of data integrity and accurately reflecting the market demand for the card. What do you think about this?
I used to have this come up earlier in my collecting life with some like LeBron guys, like, how much would you bid on this? Who would go higher? Okay, this guy wants it more. It's his turn. Everyone else don't bid or whatever, so that they have a better shot at winning it. I used to do that kind of stuff. Now I'm just like, I don't talk about it. I just go for what I want. It'll work itself out. Whoever actually wants it will win it. Let the true auction process play out. That's kind of the point of it. So I usually go that route now.
Why do you go that way?
I don't know. I just feel like this pre-discussion or determination around it is just like, it's weird. Plus, I'm competitive. I'll just go beat you in the auction.
Have you, like, I think it depends upon the player too. Like, with Michael Jordan cards, there is no chance in hell calling dibs is going to work.
There's too many. Like you've eliminated one of 1,000 people you're competing with.
Yeah, that, and also like it's too competitive. Like, who's gonna give in and be like, yeah, I'll sit this one out, dude? The next time that card comes up in 6 months to a year, it might be significantly more. Who's gonna sit it out? Just to like that. That's an uncomfortable situation, and there are people out there who come from the point of view of like, hey, if I call dibs on this card, like people shouldn't be bidding on it.
Yeah.
Like that's a legitimate point of view that people have. And the thinking behind it is like, we'll collaborate. Like I get this one, you get the next one. We won't compete against each other. And, both of the, both instances, the card will go way lower than if we were competing against each other. And I get it from the buyer's point of view, if that plan is properly executed. But what about from the seller's point of view? Is it fair to the seller that buyers are colluding to get a discount on the card? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's true. That's the part that I don't like. I'd rather just let the auction process play out. Do you have any of these discussions in your like Christian McCaffrey chat? Something that's like you feel like you kind of know everyone that would potentially bid on it, and it's like, if I can get these 3 guys to agree that I'm the only one bidding, I'm definitely winning.
It's going on with a card. It hasn't been expressly discussed, but yeah, it's going on with something right now a little bit. And I would never call dibs. Not because like I'm on my high horse here. It's because I have the experience of having seen how awkward it gets, and like how it can put the other people in a really awkward position, and it's probably not fair to them. So I just avoid doing that always. But like, yeah, it can come up even in that context. And like, people get upset about this type of stuff, right? Like, that's true. I'm not even going to mention that though, because we should not mention that. But yeah, I mean, it's it's a very difficult, awkward topic, it's because you get wherever, it's one of those situations where you get where everybody's coming from, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's probably better if we don't have all these side deals going on and if we just let the market play itself out.
Yeah. But sometimes like cards that are, especially in player collectors, one card comes up and you all know it. It's like, oh my gosh, you guys saw what hit auction, right? Like, what's going on? So it's fun to have those discussions as friends and like, what do you guys think it's going to go for and who's bidding and stuff like that. Those are fun topics to have.
Yeah. And like, to make a slightly dickish observation, it also, like when those situations come out, it also reveals who feels like they're entitled to things.
Yeah.
And that can be unattractive as well. And it just seems like the fairest outcome to all stakeholders, seller, other potential buyers, just let the open market play itself out, and don't collude. Buyers don't collude.
If I actually want to win it and I see people around me talking about it, I just don't say anything and I just go bid on it and win it myself.
And there will be people who like get mad if you bid on it and you don't tell them and you end up like putting their bid higher. Like they will be upset at you. They'll be like, why didn't you tell me I was bidding against you? I would have dropped off.
Also, every time I bid on a card, I have to look through my list of who potentially, like, it's just too much to manage.
I don't know if Rodman's still in here, but he had a situation kind of like that once.
I was thinking of that one time when...
Don't bring that up.
Bring what up?
That situation.
You don't know what that situation is.
I know exactly.
No, you do not. You know nothing about it.
I bet I do.
You do not, actually. Rodman says that cap.
I don't want to bring up the story I was going to say because it's going to get me in trouble with you Jordan guys.
But then there's a different story involving me and Rodman where, and this is a technique that is not.
I know what that is. This is what I was going to say. This is the one I was going to say.
Do not be careful if you get. Yeah, Rodman says we cost each other a couple thousands. Yeah, exactly. That's it was an awkward dynamic, but there used to be a technique that was way more effective on eBay back in the day, which was messaging the seller directly and convincing them to end the auction prematurely for your offer.
So you were like enemy number one when that happened.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. And I got a piece of bad advice to do it, which, that always puts you in a weird position. But yeah, I mean, it happens. Yep. And I actually got 2 Jordan Grails out from underneath Rodman because I beat him to the punch on the Golden Boss Refractor. That one didn't involve ending an auction early and sending the auction. Well, let's discuss that. Let's discuss the process if there's an auction running and you send a message to the seller and you make an offer and you say, hey, end this auction and I'll pay you X. Is there anything wrong with that?
Not technically. I mean, I've done it too, so I don't know. Well, I think if I'm gonna cross my T's and dot my I's here, as long as you pay for it through eBay, you're not violating any of the policies of eBay.
But you're also preventing that card from reaching its natural auction conclusion.
If the seller feels like your offer is good enough to remove the auction, that's their prerogative, and that's what they're saying. Like, I think your offer is better than what I can get at auction. I don't want to risk it. I was going to say, that's what I was going to say, Dennis. You're the reason that Rodman doesn't collect Jordan anymore. That's what I'm hearing. You pushed him into soccer cards. Thanks a lot.
I'm not mad about that. Rodman also is threatening to expose me with eBay.
Let's move on. This topic is done.
I feel like Rodman's had a few.
I say no dibs.
No dibs. All right.
Sorry, Austin. No dibs.
It's a really tough topic. Really, really tough topic.
We got 2 tough ones back to back.
Yes. All right. Grail Card Quest says, I'm currently frustrated watching a key grail for my collection being shilled in an eBay auction. I know how you feel, buddy. I know I need the card, and it could be the only time I see it. Do I just bite the bullet knowing I'm paying a serious premium for the manipulation? And then Drake commented that I've faced this multiple times. Stick to your budget. If it's shilled, it likely won't get paid and will be relisted.
I used to like overpay. I need it. Now I'm stubborn and I feel like I should be correct and knowing that I'm right, that it's being shilled and let it go. I'm with Drake.
Yes, I'm with Drake as well. I think overpaying in a lot of instances stopped being a viable strategy a year or two ago, maybe a little bit more, when it became clear that the people who collectors were bidding against ultimately had the intention of winning the card and then selling it to a collector immediately after, or throwing it up in a different auction 6 months later, thinking that they just set a high comp for it, they just beat somebody for it. This will create a rush of excitement around the card, and now even more people will bid more for it. And I think when that became a strong bidding strategy for dealers and flippers and investors, if you will, overpaying for a card became not nearly as strong of a collecting strategy as it used to be, because all you have to do now in many of these situations is, rather than overpay or get into a bidding war with somebody who has no desire to own the card but instead just wants to flip it, just let them win it and let them turn around and flip it in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and odds are you're going to be able to get it for less.
Yes. Yeah, especially after I started seeing like huge one-of-one rookies being sold multiple times of like big-time premier all-star level players of their rookie RPAs and shields and all this stuff being sold multiple times, 3, 4 times. It's like, I'll just be the guy that buys it the 4th time. Like, are you crazy? You know, like, you guys can hype it up all you want. You guys can say whatever you want. I know the people winning this card don't want it, so I'll just wait. I'll just wait you out.
Yeah. So you combine that with like, plus it's being chilled, and then there is the risk of the relist as well. And it just seems like overpaying right now is, you really have to ask, who am I bidding against to overpay for this card?
Especially when the person that wins it, the flipper, has the intention of like winning it and then messaging the collector right after, like, hey, I just can't, I just like randomly won this card. Would you be interested in buying it for, and you know what they paid because it was a public auction, and they're like, would you want to pay this? Oh, you want to make your 50% profit? No, but I'm willing to pay, less than what you just won it for. Message me when you're ready to sell. And then like 6 months later, they're messaging you, hey, I remember that you wanted this. I need the money for something else. You want it still at this price? You're like, yes, I'll take it now.
Did you see Rodman's most recent comment?
He's definitely had a few. Oh my gosh, it's not shilling when you're trying to buy a console. That's a good one, actually.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I'm dead.
All right. Now we move on to a question from Drake.
This is the one he gets pushback on.
Yes, this question was highly polarizing.
I saw this.
Drake says this. It's a good thing Ankesh is not here, or he would be chomping at the bit to fire off some comments. Drake says this: over the last 3 years, I've bought and continue to buy rare cards for my PC regardless of market conditions. I've likely overpaid on many, even in recent weeks and months. Some cards are up and some are down. What's concerning to me, when I have to move cards from my PC to consolidate, is I reach out to people who I know were the underbidder because they told me or they had expressed interest in the card before, but they are no longer interested unless they can get a nice discount on the card. My question, am I doing the hobby wrong by looking to acquire rare cards no matter the market? Or do other collectors need to step up their game and not always try to get cards for deals?
Man, you are the I see you. I see what you're doing. You're lining these questions up real nicely because my answer to this question is what we were just talking about. Like, we're in this new market. This is new reality. Even as a collector going after rare cards, I have to be aware of what's happening around me and say, yeah, that's great. Thank you for reaching out to me. But yes, I will be taking a discount. I'm not paying what you paid 2 years ago. That makes no sense. I'll just wait for you to auction it because I know you're trying to sell it, or I will wait for the next copy. It's just the reality. This is the new reality, and you gotta evolve and adapt.
Yeah, well said.
I love you, Drake. So that's with a firm, friendship advice there.
Yeah, and I'll take up the point of view of Drake's frustration here, which is that if somebody was the underbidder on the card, what happened, that they no longer want to pay what they bid?
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah, if it's 2 years ago, yeah, but he says even in recent, if it's 2 years ago, it's not even a question. It's 2 years ago, so much has changed, not even, but if it was just a few weeks ago or months ago,
yeah,
and market conditions are the same, then I think he has a little bit more of a point. But here's the nature of bidding on an auction. You can be an underbidder on an auction, and losing can leave a taste in your mouth that makes you not want to pursue that card anymore. Or you take the money that you had allocated to bid and win that card and you put it towards a different card. Or, your situation changes in a different way. So those things all can happen. And I think it speaks to a good point here, which is that there can't be an expectation that an underbidder sort of has obligated themselves to pay that underbid even a second later. Because eBay sellers have dealt with this before, where like the highest bidder will not pay for the auction, and then they'll offer it to the second highest bidder. And the second highest bidder will be like, actually, I'm good, thanks. And the seller's like, what the heck, you bid the second highest amount. The top bidder backed out. I would think you would want it, but things change. Feelings change. The moment passes, etc. Yes, Christina.
It only takes two people to get that card to that price. So when one person comes out of the auction, that card is no longer worth that price. If there's only two people going,
then it's worth the third highest bidder.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then, for Drake, for someone to be like an eBay seller too, to be like, well, if buyer one didn't pay and you were buyer two, $5 under them, I'll sell it to you for $5 less. But the last hour of that auction was just you and buyer one going back and forth.
Yeah, that's what it means when he had two and the second
highest.
God,
can you stop? I fucking hate when you do that.
And the second highest backs out. Okay.
Can you stop?
Just making sure we're not retreading the same territory.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
What do you think?
Yeah, I've done that. I say, I'll pay $1 more than the guy who got third. I think that's what you're trying to say. I've done that before.
Yeah, but then Drake can come back to that and say, well, but you bid this amount, like you were willing to pay it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Here's just the practical reality of this is Drake, when we're buying, we have frustrations with the sellers. And when we're selling, we have frustrations with the buyers. Our ideal state of things is that the seller sells it to us at the price that we want, and the buyer buys it from us at the price we want.
Yeah.
And we're never going to quite get that in most situations. So Drake is voicing a frustration, which is completely fine in my book. He is anybody. It's probably better to voice these frustrations in some way or another rather than to bottle it up. All right.
Yeah.
Josh, this question made me laugh thinking about you. PLB Cards says, what is the dollar amount threshold for picking up a card in person rather than going through the mail? And let's assume that the card is at least 300 miles away.
All right. Let's both think of a number in our head and then reveal it and see how far apart we are. I think I asked you this once.
Yeah.
I did. There was a scenario that came up and I asked you how much, and I was like way off what another person's expectation was.
I have traveled for a $10,000 card before, like a 10-hour drive.
Yeah, see, I asked you and you gave me an answer like that, and I was like, never mind, I shouldn't have asked you. You're way off from what I was going to say. I just trust FedEx overnight. I just have never had an issue. So I just like the convenience of FedEx overnight signature is good for me. Like I feel good in it. I feel good with it. So it's like 50 grand. Sure. Just FedEx it overnight. I'll be here.
I've heard stories of guys flying halfway across the world, meeting in an airport, doing like a $20,000 card deal, getting back on the plane and flying the 15 hours right back. Like 30 hours of consecutive flying for a $20,000 card.
Yeah. Well, my number's 100,000.
100,000. All right.
And even then, I'm like, what's your insurance? Like, let's talk this through here. Like,
yep. Giving
up a whole day. I understand that that's a lot of money. I understand that we're talking about a lot of money, but like, I just, the things that can go wrong in the airplane trip aren't that much worse than the company that's paid to do this. I don't know.
Fair.
I've had cards shipped from China to here that are really expensive with just absolutely no issues.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. The reason why my threshold is where it is because I get something out of that trip.
Yeah.
Like I'm not against the trip. The trip enhances it for me. The trip is a little entertainment value.
Right.
So that's what biases my vote on this, I think.
Yeah. It's a little harder when you have two kids.
I know.
It's a little harder.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing I thought was like, yeah, I don't have obligations to be home and take care of two small people.
I'm like, hey, to my wife, like, good luck. I'm out of here. I'm going to get a $500 card and across the country. It's like, what?
Rodman says, I'm Omar Navarro. I only do cash deals. Nobody's ever said this before, but you look a little bit like Omar Navarro.
We haven't said that in a while.
He's a much more handsome version of Omar.
It's because that show has passed. We need to. When that show was at its peak, he was getting a lot of comparisons.
He was. That reminds me of a question that we had come in here, which Prison Mike SC, one of the great hobby Instagram names, he says, what are your thoughts on the Frasier reboot? I haven't watched it, so I don't have any thoughts yet. And then he says, what show should get a reboot next? Which I thought you might find that interesting.
Well, I can't believe we've gone this long without talking about baseball because this is going to be the first time I talk about baseball in forever. And you didn't want it to happen. Well, let me do the reboot.
We'll do that.
Let me do the reboot. A show that does a reboot? Man, I'm not good at thinking about stuff like this on the spot.
Do you want an Office reboot? Let's start there.
That's too soon. No, that's why I was struggling because I'm trying to think of older shows than that. That's too soon.
I don't think they could make The Office now.
Well, they could.
Yes. Michael Scott is like, some of the jokes he does, I don't know that they could get away with them now.
It would just be the new era Michael Scott.
You wouldn't be able to, I don't even think you could say that's what she said.
Exactly.
For some one-liners that people had. Because people would be like, that's a little rapey.
Maybe like The Sopranos?
Hard pass.
Yeah.
Leave that one right where it is. We do not need anybody messing that.
I want a show that's like not one of the better shows. You want something.
Yeah, that's right. It can't be a classic. Like that's why, honestly, I haven't watched the Frasier reboot because, like,
it'll ruin it for you.
Maybe. Did anybody watch the Full House reboot? I mean,
my wife did. It was terrible.
So bad.
I watched the first season and I gave up after that.
She watched the whole first season, though.
Yeah, Prison Mike says there's rumors of an Office reboot. That's probably why he's asking.
I knew where he was going with that. All right, let's get to some baseball questions for the newly minted MLB aficionado. Chad.
Expert. The word you're looking for is expert.
Expert. My apologies. Okay, Chaz Pennysley says, do you care about the Diamondbacks making it to the National League Championship Series at all? And do you have any thoughts about Corbin Carroll's cards or market?
I know nothing about Corbin Carroll's market, so I won't speak to that. I know absolutely nothing, and I will just be lying if I said so. I do care. It's been fun. My son has gotten into it. He went to one of the games towards the end of the season, and then he showed a bit of an interest in it, so I started watching their games. They haven't lost yet in the playoffs. They've been looking really good. I'll keep watching them. It's semi-exciting, and the new rules are good. I can't lie. I'm not a baseball guy. I still think it's a little strange that teams are like Bill said, they're playing for like 6 months every day, and then all of a sudden they're just like gone. So the top 5 records in the regular season are all gone. All of them. Top 5. That's crazy. That will never happen in the NBA. But it's pretty exciting. The new rules are good. It's faster. The games take 2.5 hours, and it feels like it just kind of more feels like it's moving, and there's like actual action.
It does. So I watched Phillies Braves Game 3.
Oh, that was the good one.
It was a good one. And I have to adjust a rankings list. So you were pointing out the pitch count thing, the pitch clock, and how that really moves along the action, and it does. I even when you sort of explain games go from like 3+ hours to 2.5, even that wasn't truly doing justice to how much more action per minute happens as a result of it. And
yes,
and I think on the hierarchy of action per minute sports, the very top you have boxing and combat sports. Then you have basketball, and now I think baseball is third place and has replaced football as the most action per minute sport because you've got to play every 15 seconds, and in football you get to play every 45.
Yeah, to your point, I got the feeling that because the game was sped up, there was like more of a, I don't want to say anxiousness, but more of like I felt like the batters were more. Anxious is fine. They're more anxious to like hit the ball. Like it felt like they were being sped up to do something about it. You know what I mean? Like, when the game's going that slow and you're waiting, they're just willing to take a lot more pitches and wait for the right pitch. Now they're like, I just feel like there was more swinging going on. So you saw the Bryce Harper home run?
I saw it. Yeah, it was incredible. I watched that. It went in one of the early innings, and it just went a mile in the air, and it was incredible.
And did you see the 2 guys up on the top of the?
Yeah.
There's like 2 guys like up on top of the shade structure over the top deck. I was like, how'd they even get up there? And then he was like staring down the second baseman because I guess they had some sort of beef or something. Right. And the crowd was going crazy. I was into it.
Yep, it was pretty cool. So what about caring about the Diamondbacks being in the NLCS?
Yes. I'm going to watch it. I care. It's exciting. A local team. We've always been pretty bad. I don't know that I'll go to a game, but I'll watch all the games on TV.
All right.
I would watch that over Thursday Night Football. How about that?
Woo! Wow. All right. Fair enough. You were talking about like the batter having a heightened sense of urgency with the pitch clock. I really feel it from the pitcher's side. I mean, that's because I played pitcher. when I played like Little League baseball. But I felt like man, you really have to like keep those pitches rolling, and like it just felt like when the pitcher could take 45, 60 seconds, the arm can recover a little more. So I mean, this is completely unscientific, but just the feeling I get is like, man, like they're like having to rapid fire those pitches off, and I felt like fatigue could set in more quickly in a long inning on a pitcher.
100%. And they're like, baseball have this, people make fun of it that they're standing around like scratching their nuts. And it's true. When you have 45 seconds in between, they're sitting there playing with their balls. They have nothing else to do. They're spitting and they're kicking the dirt a million times. It's like, throw the fuck. I remember watching baseball games and passing. It's like, throw the fucking ball. Like, what are you doing? And now I don't ever think that.
Is there any rule preventing, I don't think there could be, like 8 throws over to first base?
There is. That's a new rule. That's a great one. Okay. Yes. Glad you brought that up. You get 2 of those, and if you do it a third time and you don't pick him off, he gets to go to second base. That's a rule.
What?
It's incredible. Yes, it's such a good rule. I thought the same thing you did, and I was like, okay, great. Now I just get to watch these guys throw it first 100 times. No, that's a rule. The third one, if you don't get them, you can do it, but you better fucking get them or they're going to second. It's like a balk.
Wow. Very interesting. It meaningfully changed the sport, I think.
Yes. Bill Simmons is saying it's like one of the most meaningful rule changes in the last, whatever years. It's very meaningful. And I like that you and I are thinking through it. Like they thought through that. They thought through okay, well, I'll just do this. They're like, nope, better get ahead of that shit.
Yeah. I mean, imagine basketball without a shot clock.
That'd be horrible.
Yeah.
I
exactly.
love they changed the rule after the rebound. That was a great rule change because it was like 24 seconds. Seriously, they're already past half court. Like the first 12 seconds of the shot clock have already been determined when you get the offensive rebound. So let's just cut it down to 14. That makes sense.
Yes. Deep Valley says this contributes to steals being up along with the larger base size. Yeah, don't sleep on that oven mitt that I see these guys wearing out there, these base runners.
The bases themselves are bigger. The white bases on the ground,
yep.
Right? Oh, wow.
That's what he's saying. I think that's right. But can we discuss these oven mitts? I had to look this up. I couldn't believe. I mean, this is how long it's been since I watched baseball. The base runners are wearing oven mitts to protect their hands from being injured.
I didn't see that. What is that? I've never seen that before, and I just thought it was like they don't want to injure their fingers or something.
That's exactly what it's for. It's to protect their hands from being like stepped on or smashing into the base.
They're like wings, and they can touch the base from further away.
I said these are unnatural extensions of the hand.
Yeah, bullshit. Yeah, I did notice that there was more steals, and I guess I didn't know about the bigger bases, but the hands thing. One of the guys like got walked, and the second he got walked, he's pulling that thing out of his back pocket, putting on his hand. I was like, look at this fucking cheater.
And as I was looking up what these oven mitts were during the game, I came into this page that explained that back in the 1800s, baseball was understood as the sport of the working class because working class people could not afford to have broken bones or injuries that would knock them out of the workforce for extended periods of time. And football was the sport of the upper classes.
Makes sense.
Because they could sustain broken bones and injuries and not potentially be unable to feed themselves as a result. So football, the sport of the bourgeoisie. You heard it here on the crossover. Baseball, sport of the people.
Baseball.
In the 1800s.
This is we saved it for the last 5 minutes. This is like a small token of a small gesture to our baseball fans out there.
Right. Yes. And one last question. I really regret that we didn't get to this earlier, but I'll just get to it really quick right now. And I know we're going to want to have a lot to say about this, but we can just save it. Maybe, I just need to acknowledge the question. So this question is from LSU Tiger Collector 65.
Nice.
Says shit beasts are up 0.7% over the last 24 hours. Is it time to buy back in?
I am so glad you gave me a refresher course on what these things look like. That's is the Colorado game seriously in overtime? It was 29-0 when I was headed on.
Who was up 29-0?
Colorado was up 29-0. Apparently now it's in overtime? I don't think so.
I would not doubt George.
It is the worst team in the Pac-12.
I see a score of 43-36 in OT right now. I'm guessing Colorado scored on their first OT.
It was 29-0 Colorado. Is that actual fecal matter on the head of that beast?
Yes. And there's like plungers and stuff. Oh, not on this one. Yeah.
So it's up 0.7% today, but it's down like 1 billion percent in the last month.
That means opportunity and momentum.
So when something's on its way up, that's when you jump back in.
Right? I mean, I know in the hobby we have a lot of experience with buying at the peak.
0.7% sounds a little too much incline for me. Like I like to get it on the way down.
Yeah, you like to catch the falling knife. It is 40. The game is 43-43.
That's
all right.
I gotta say, I knew I would be right about this Dion thing, but this is just getting too easy. Stanford is terrible. We're 29-0. Stanford is horrible. Come on, Dion.
The Stanford Cardinal.
They are terrible.
All right, let's pick a title. Just got to write down the last one here.
You got to get that shit beast one in there.
Yes, fecal matter on the head. All right. Fecal matter on the head. We're trying to care about all the cards.
That was funny. Really set the tone.
Yeah. All right. Stroud is the Purdy of the Purdies. I won't fight it. I'll just let it happen. Couchman times 10. I always like when we can give a little nod to a community member. Lipstick on a pig. See, we can't do that one just because of the graphic that Nick might come up with. That's why we have to avoid certain ones like that by itself. This is the best way to do the dicks.
That's when you paused to do the dicks, and then you were like, "Sporting Goods jersey." Like you just waited.
I know the pause is very dangerous. Not only because sentences can get garbled, but if I pause for too long, Christina says it's her time to jump in.
Yeah, she's just waiting.
Oh, what? No pause.
You might be sleeping on the couch tonight, bro.
Stiff, I don't even want to take that to that point. All right. Broke ass. Broke ass.
Broke ass.
One hand washing the other.
I don't think that's right. Is it?
I did sneak in a little Google, and it is.
Oh.
Yes, one hand
Okay.
the other.
Nice work. I'm thinking of something else maybe. Thinking of another phrase.
It didn't sound right though.
Yeah, I know. I feel like there's another one that we both were thinking of, and you landed on that one. So I thought, no, he didn't land it, but you did.
All right. All right. We have Zag these nuts. Well, we could call an episode that when like we commit to never zagging again. Turn a nickel into a house.
It's usually like a thumbtack, isn't it?
Yeah, or like a paper clip maybe.
Yeah.
I love a raw zag. A slightly dickish observation. The risk of the relist. and fecal matter on the.
I like the first one. That's still my favorite.
We're trying to care about all the cards. About all cards. We're trying to care about all cards. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that will work. All right. Put on this Colorado game.
Dude, let me sneak this in real quick. I know you guys, all you influencers are out there watching this show. You're stealing our content. I'm watching you. I see you in the chat entering, and I see you not commenting, and then I watch your videos and you're stealing my content. I know what you're doing. I see it.
Let's go. That gave me.
Call him out, Josh.
Do not.
Stealing my Mickey Mantle takes. I see it.
It gave me like Suge Knight Suge Knight vibes, like all in the video. When he was calling out P Diddy, that was awesome. That was scary. I love that.
You ended.
We're gonna end it right there. See you guys next week, and see some of our content on your show. In the meantime.
A lot has changed since Card Ladder began. We started with 500 cards in our database, and now we have over 3 million cards and over 30 million sales.
For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
With Card Ladder's sales history feature, we have virtually every card in our system. If the card you are looking for ever sold on one of these platforms, you can find it using Card Ladder's sales history, and you can add a card to your collection with just one click.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Plus, every card, no matter the last time it sold, has an estimated value that we calculated using our state-of-the-art player indexes. Unlike other apps, when you see Card Ladder's verified checkmark, that means a researcher personally vetted each and every sale.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
We know what you want, because Card Ladder was created by collectors for collectors.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Join the innovators, not the imitators. Card Ladder 2.0, constantly innovating. Try it for free. See why Card Ladder is the industry leader in sports card data.
We know what it takes to be reaching the top.
Card Ladder 2.0.